Hello, everyone. Welcome. I'm Jeff Lupino Esposito from IMDb Pro. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the IMDb Stars to Watch panel at the Acura House of Energy at the 2026 Sundance Film Festival. Thanks for being here, y'all. Now, I'm welcoming not just all of you in the room here, but also many more folks who are streaming this live online right now on imdb.com, on Twitch, and on YouTube. So thanks to all of them for tuning in. We have three fantastic actors here. I'm going to introduce them each. To my left, you've maybe seen her in Ghosts or The Thing About Pam. You're also about to see her on the new season of Euphoria. It's Gideon Adlon. Next to her, he has been in A Complete Unknown, Luca Guadagnino's After the Hunt, The Chair Company on HBO. We got Will Price. And at the end of the line here, you've seen her in Kogonada's A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. She's been on Goosebumps, FBI Most Wanted. You're about to see her in the new season of Bridgerton next week. We got Michelle Mao. Now, of course, they also have amazing projects premiering this year at Sundance, which I'm really excited to talk to you all about. So thank you all for coming. Thank you to Acura for hosting us in this amazing space. You know, Acura has been lifting up independent artists and diverse voices for over 16 years as an official partner at Sundance. And you can see that mission on display again this year. So it's a pleasure to be here. Okay. So you heard it in my intros of them. All three of these actors are at a really interesting moment in their careers. That's why we have them all together. They've got great credits on their resume, right? You can check their IMDb pages. They are headed for even more exciting projects in the future. So I want to talk to you about what it feels like to be in this moment in your career, what you've learned along the way, and what you hopefully see coming up next. So we'll start with your Sundance projects. You know, a lot of folks likely haven't had a chance to see them yet. So Gideon, let's start with you. If you could set up your project a little bit, give them a brief description of it, your role in the project, and why this felt like the right thing for you in this moment.
Right, okay. Hi. So I have a project called Worried, and it's adapted from a novel written by the incredible Alexandra Tanner. Which came out, I believe the novel came out about 2 years ago. Everybody should read it. It's a great read. And it's about two sisters, very insufferable, hard to love, but you really end up loving them, I hope, a little bit. And they're trying to navigate being in their 20s in New York City, and they move in together, and it's a total train wreck, but then turns into something beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, why did this feel right for you? Why did you want to be part of this?
Well, I'm one of three girls, so I really relate to the sister thing, for sure. And I really loved the novel. I didn't read the book until I got the job because I loved the script so much. I knew I would have been really bummed if I didn't get it, and I did. Yeah. And then I read the book, and I was just over the moon. But the character she's my age, the age I am right now in my life. I've never been able to play a character my exact age yet. And I can just really see myself growing with this project and with this character and with the crew that I'm working with. Yeah, I'm just lucky.
Yeah, it's a great team. And this pilot episode is really something special.
Thank you.
Will, tell us about The Only Living Pickpocket in New York.
Yeah, I'm in this film called The Only Living Pickpocket in New York, directed by Noah Segan and starring the great John Turturro. I think what drew me to it is Noah wrote this script that felt like it was a throwback to the films of, the 1970s, where it kind of had there's a crime element, and it's a bit of a thriller, and it's the opportunity to get to work alongside John, who I just have admired for a long time. And I think the character felt very different than anything I'd done. He's a little bit subversive, and he's sort of the antagonist of the project. And I felt that the challenge of having to humanize a character that's a bit of a jerk on the page was really exciting.
And you really get to go toe-to-toe with Turturro.
Quite literally toe-to-toe. He's a little taller, but...
Sure. Yeah. Michelle, tell us about Z and your role in it.
Yeah, I would love to. I'm Michelle, and you can see me this weekend in Kogonada's Z, which will be premiering in the next section. Shout out Team Z. And the movie is about a young woman in Hong Kong who starts seeing visions of herself in the future. And that's the kind of vague log line of it. But thematically, I think it's about this inexplicable feeling that I feel like everyone experiences at certain points in life where you feel out of sync with the world around you, whether it's, if you're grappling with being of a diasporic community, or grappling with your sexuality, or dealing with grief and watching the world move on without you. And so all of the three characters in the movie, the description on the Sundance website is really great, so I'm just going to quote it. They're called transitory misfits on the website, and they kind of exist outside of time a little bit and find each other and find peace through meeting each other. And so I think it's a great little gem, and if you don't already have tickets, hopefully there's still online tickets available, but I'm ending my pitch there.
Yeah, no, you articulated it well. It is really a poetic movie, which can be hard to distill into a log line. Let's continue on Z for a second. You alluded to this idea that in the film, your character literally is experiencing the past and the present intertwined in some way. I'm curious, for you as the actor, moment to moment on set, when so much of that narrative meaning has to come from the edit, when things are going to be pieced together later, is Kogonada setting that stage for you? Are you trusting your gut as an actor? What is that like?
That's such a good question. I think doing this movie, because of that nature of going into it without a set script and finding the characters and the storyline as we shoot, and he was actually editing it every night after we got back to the hotel so that he could have a rough edit and then kind of then go back and surgically say, okay, we want to add something here, we want to add something there. And I think working in that way was really an exercise in surrender and trust, because I had to have so much trust in not only Kogonada, but also the DP Ben, who we only had one camera and it was guerrilla style, and so you had to trust that he would know when you were giving something to catch it. And I used to joke when we were in Hong Kong, I was like, you keep reading my mind, because you know exactly when I'm trying to give a look or something spontaneous and ephemeral happens, and he'll manage to catch it. And so I think working with top tier people really helps. And again, working with Haley Liu and Jin, focusing on the moment to moment of being present with them, and they're such generous actors, and feeding off of their energy and just being, I guess, like very present. It was an exercise in presence and surrender is my summary. So honestly, seeing the movie in the edit was kind of like seeing it I'd never seen a script, didn't know how it was gonna turn out, and it was a magical experience.
Wow, that is a level of surrender. No script. I didn't even actually realize it was that freeform. Will, were there moments on set of The Only Living Pickpocket where you felt like you were discovering things day to day like that?
Yeah. I think that I had the opportunity to work with John pretty much the whole film, and there was a moment on set where we were rehearsing a scene in which he has to sneak up on my character, and the hinges on the door were squeaking when we were rehearsing. And he kind of stopped the rehearsal, and he was just like, "We need to fix the door." And Noah's like, "Is everything okay with the door?" And John's like, "The door is squeaking, and if we start the scene with a lie, that's not good." So I that's anecdotal, but I felt that like there were moments like that where Noah and John were really encouraging to like figure out in a reality that's definitely created, like, how can we make this feel as real as possible, and not cheat it a little bit.
Yeah, what a good reminder from a hugely experienced actor that you can speak up and say something feels untruthful here, and if you're with the right collaborators, that they can hear that.
Yeah, and so I thought that was a moment, I guess.
Yeah. Gideon, how about for you on Worried? Were there any moments of discovery like that day to day that stand out to you?
Day to day, I mean, yeah, I think just working with Rachel, forming that connection and that friendship, like we're very different people, and she's really funny. She's a really good, she's a comedian. She's a great comedian. And it was learning from her how to mix all of our emotions so naturally. I mean, I never stop learning. Every job I work on, it's hard to pick something exactly, but even watching Nicole work, or how Leslie and Alex are writing behind the scenes, throwing out new things to us. And I don't know, honestly, thinking back on my time filming, which was quite short. It was a short shoot. It's just, I know it sounds silly, whatever, but we really became those girls, and I found so much of myself in Jules, and she found so much of herself in Poppy, which when you see it, like, I don't know if that's a good thing, but
yeah, it's hard if you haven't seen it yet. That is a bold statement, because
we don't suck, but it's just like a very honest portrayal of being a woman in her mid-20s. So yeah, I learned more about myself from the book and the women I worked with. And
yeah, you alluded to the comedy of it. They are so funny in their seriousness and their desperate seriousness at sometimes. I imagine on set, if there is a moment where you are conscious of the comedy, where you break in some way, it is kind of hard to bring it back down to that. Or do you feel like the two of you could turn it on, turn it off?
It was very difficult. It was tough at certain points. I couldn't keep it together. There are things that I would tell all of you that are probably not appropriate to say on a live Twitchy, YouTubey thingy thing, but
your instinct was probably right there, yeah.
Yeah, but some of the things that would come out because an ambulance drove by, and we're gonna keep going. Yeah, it was tough to keep it together, but honestly, that's what makes it. They loved all of it, and they wouldn't stop, and we just kept going. Like burning your finger with a match. They didn't call cut. We just kept going. But we didn't even think about it because we were so in it. And Devin Bostick, who stars in it with us, he's also a little genius. And he's also a great writer. So their improv skills, all of us to get, and yeah, it's dark. You said like the comedy's a bit dark, but that's what makes it funny. Because if we don't laugh about the really uncomfortable, dark things in our life and about our bodies and ourselves, it's gonna be hard to get through whatever we're all dealing with right now. And honestly, Worried portrays that very well.
Yeah, I agree. I think, you might have seen two girls in New York who are roommates in other things, but I don't think you've seen it like this. I do think it was very, very honest.
Yeah, it's much deeper than girls in New York as roommates.
Exactly. Will, I'd heard you say that this was one of the first chances you had on a film to be able to shape a character over the whole arc of the film. Talk to us a little bit about building that emotional arc and then maintaining it day to day too.
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. In the past when I've worked on a film like After the Hunt with Luca, I'm very much in service of other characters' stories, and you come in and you're kind of a color in the painting, and you're trying to just fill the role that is needed for like a larger story. And I'm very comfortable in that, and obviously I learned a lot on stuff like that. But this project is really intimidating because I think I couldn't start at 11, and I think the character definitely gets to 11 by the end of the movie. So I think that when I was working on it, I was just really, Noah and I did a lot of talking that in the first scene, he shouldn't feel like he's going to be a central character. We kind of want to maintain that element of surprise. I guess I just spoiled it for all of you.
Yeah.
But yeah. but wanting to maintain a degree of like, yeah, this could be a character that's in passing, and then as the film starts to unravel and you learn more about the character, and I think my hope was that you'd see a little bit of like his. I feel like the character's been slighted, and I think he has that energy of somebody that feels he's owed something or wants to be given something, and so I think that when I was working on it, I was just conscious of tracking the arc and not giving too much away too soon, and like maintaining a degree of mystery with it.
That's cool. It's surprising, maybe for some, it is surprising to me that it's about restraint in some ways, holding back.
Yeah, because then I think there's a payoff. Hopefully, if it's a well-written character, which Noah's a great writer, so there's a real payoff at the end of the film when you actually see maybe the breakage in what's going on. So yeah.
Yeah. Before we pivot off of your Sundance projects and and we'll move on to some things you've done in the past, some things you have coming up, I want to ask you, and Michelle, I'll start with you. Is there an actor or if you want to name a couple, that's okay too, whose careers you really admire and maybe have looked to in some ways for guidance, something you want to emulate?
There are definitely actors and actresses who I really admire their filmography. I think they have great taste. One of them would be Kristen Stewart. I think that, she has a very strong point of view of the projects that she wants to partake in, and she's continuously reinventing herself because she's been acting since like a very young age, and she's not let herself get put in a box in any sort of way, and I respect her a lot. And I also am very inspired by a lot of actors and actresses that come out of Asia and international films, namely like Maggie Cheung. Zhou Xun's also an actress that I love, and I think that they're legends back home, and obviously I think people here also know them because it's Sundance, and I think that the way that they continue to work with the same auteurs and but then also step out and play like slapstick characters or an erotic like snake movie. I just think it's so cool, and it's like you never have to be one thing, you can be many things at once, and I think Agnes Varda said that, so she's another one, period.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're doing all the right things then. Kristen Stewart is no stranger to Sundance. You're here, you're working again with Kogonada, so that's, I think you're on the right track there.
Thank you.
Will, how about you? Who comes to mind for you?
Well, at first I'd say like in the nicest way. I hope that I'm myself.
Yeah.
But I have been such a fan of what Josh O'Connor's done recently. I think he this last year to do Knives Out, which Ryan Johnson directed, who's a producer on our film, and then also to do The Mastermind, like the Kelly Reichardt film. I think that's such an interesting contrast, and I'm so excited to see the Spielberg film this summer. Also a little bit of Robert Pattinson, particularly. I think it's really cool that he works with unknown directors and directors that. Somebody told me the other day it's pretty cool how filmmakers have been given an opportunity to make a film due to Robert Pattinson agreeing to do it, and so I think that's pretty admirable.
Yeah, that is a good reminder that, especially in places like Sundance and independent film, that actor can really unlock opportunities. Which cast member of Twilight are you choosing?
I was about to make that joke and you took it from me, so
Sorry.
thanks. I was actually really excited to be.
Oh, no.
We love a little. Okay, well, good job,
Sorry.
thanks. I mean, yeah. Okay, so who do I admire?
Yeah, someone you admire, or maybe even their career choices that you
Right.
particularly dig.
Honestly, any actor that isn't afraid to try anything, do it all, and not box yourself in. There's nothing embarrassing about being a working actor, and getting yourself to where you want to be in your career. It's a ladder. You gotta try and do it all. But I mean, the list. Robert Redford.
Yeah.
First of all,
Amen.
rest in peace.
Yeah.
Woody Harrelson. I can only think of men right now. I love male actors. I also love female actors.
Yeah.
Jessie Buckley, Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
I mean, I admire so many people, all ages.
Yeah.
We all do. List
Yeah.
could go on.
I think you're really speaking to versatility, even in those names you're calling out. Absolutely. I'll start with you over here, Gideon, talking about, we mentioned it earlier, you're joining Euphoria this season. You already shot?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to come to you, Michelle, with a similar question, but you're joining a show that is in motion, that has a really clear creative vision already in place. You're bringing yourself to it, but you're also, I imagine, conscious of that world. Tell us a little bit about stepping into that.
Well, a show like that, they're a family. You know, they have their motor figured out, how they run, but you don't feel like an outcast at all. I went to work, and my first day I was like not coddled, but just so welcomed. There wasn't there was no nervousness. All the girls are incredible. They know what they're doing. Sam is great. Ashley's great. All the cameramen. I mean, it's shot on film, which is so satisfying. I've never experienced that, watching them change the reels in between and how fast they do it. But I mean, yeah, they're a family and they've been through a lot. You know, they lost a cast member, they lost Angus, and it's art. It's what they're doing is a high form of art and how they take it seriously, but don't take themselves too seriously. So it's just it's a really great environment, that set, and I'm very happy that I got to be a part of it. I mean, who wouldn't? That was crazy. It was great.
Yeah, what a great group of peers it sounds like to join.
Yeah.
Yeah, really powerful. Michelle, how about for you stepping into the world of Bridgerton?
Yeah, I think with Bridgerton, because it is a little bit of a revolving door when it comes to every season is focusing on a new sibling and a new love story. And so even though it feels like it's 4 seasons in and we're working on the same themes of like love versus duty or love versus society and prejudice and expectations, there's always a fresh take on it every time. And one thing that I learned from joining this big behemoth of a machine is that I have a lot of respect for actors and actresses who work in these kind of ensemble shows, because it's an egoless thing to do, to come back every year and not necessarily, you know, a lot of actors, you want to grow and you want to do the next thing, and you're like, some of us have short attention spans and you're wanting to go off and do something else, and a lot of these actors know how important it is to the fan base, and they have a lot of respect for their fans, and they come back and they continue to, you know, spend their time on that set and get to know every new cast member, even if we don't have scenes with each other. And so it's kind of just like this big orchestra, and you have to be happy playing your one note sometimes in service of like the harmony of it all. And so, yeah, I learned a lot from a lot of the actors and actresses on that set. Yeah.
Coming from the outside, what was, as a viewer versus being on set for a show like that, what were some of the surprises about how it really ran?
It's not as sexy as as you would think it is.
Tell me more. Yeah.
I think we're all just silly. We're silly, goofy. You know, they're all British, and so they have this like dry British sense of humor, and they all, you know, will go on like cigarette breaks. And I remember when I first got there, I was wanting to get in with the, you know, crew, and they're like, oh, we're gonna go, you know, off on a break, go out. And I'm like, where are they all going? Like, why is everyone gone? And then I realized that's where all the funny and important and great conversations happen. And so learning their culture and getting in with the Brits has been such a highlight for me.
So basically you became a smoker.
Mom, don't watch this. But yeah, what was the question?
No, you nailed it. I think
I got nervous by talking about my mom.
That's great. I hope she's tuning in live right now. No, that's perfect. I think when we watch it on the outside, it is so refined, sexy, exactly as you said, but you're just hanging out.
We're all just silly hanging out.
Yeah. That's right on. Will, this is related. You were in the Chair Company, the Tim Robinson series. I'm a huge fan.
Thank you.
And that's also stepping into a sort of world, because the world of Tim Robinson is so specific. So tell us about that.
Specific is a great word. Tim, when I talked to Tim and Zach about joining the show, and I was trying to understand the tone of it and what the vibe was, they said, we're trying to do Tim's version of Punch Drunk Love. I hope they wouldn't disagree with that now, but they said it's like Fargo, or it's like Punch Drunk Love. And I think very quickly on set, it became clear that Tim was going to be the sort of the neuroses, the vessel for which we like experience the story, and then we were just kind of acting like normal people. And I think that duality is what makes the show work, because you have these really, I think, genuinely great performances, and then you have Tim doing Tim's thing.
Also a great performance.
I mean, incredible performance. Love.
Totally.
Tim's such a good actor. But yeah, and then you have people that, Gail Keller, our casting director, really found some wonderful actors to, like, the shirt salesman, I think actually was a shirt salesman at his limit.
You've hit a curiosity of mine with that show and that world, because I do wonder if it is a mix of some non-actors or is it all pro actors? Tell me about that. I think anyone that is in the show, I would be like, yeah, you're an actor. I kind of think anyone is an actor. Yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Totally true. Agreed. Everyone kills it.
Yeah, there are probably people that aren't in their day-to-day
who don't think about it as much.
Being actors.
Yeah, but they are sometimes better than.
Yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
they're honest.
The shirt
they're real.
salesman steals the entire show, and it's his store.
Yeah, exactly. The real hero of the show. Did you each audition for those roles? Did you send in tapes? Was that your experience with it? Anything memorable from that experience? What sort of resonated with that team? Anything they told you about what they saw in you? Gideon, did something come to mind for you?
From the self-tape?
Yeah, just that team, when they told you got that part and you were joining Euphoria, anything they communicated to you about?
They were like, thank you, your tape was incredible. I don't know.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
a weird.
cool.
I don't know. They're
Cool.
like, we're very excited to have you, and But
Yeah.
I mean, self-tapes. Ugh,
Yeah, challenging.
love them. Yeah, I love them.
Sounds like you love him.
Yeah.
Will, was something for you? Yeah.
My friend who's in the audience right now actually helped me with the tape, and I didn't think it was a particularly special tape. I don't know. I liked the script, and I really liked Tim, and I would obviously wanted to do it, but I think I was really kind of irritated with how the tape went, and I was like, I just gotta send it. And he was like, we got it, and I'm like, okay. And I sent it off and didn't think about it, and then that's how it happened.
got it.
Got it.
Yeah.
Shout out to the friends who helped with the self-tapes.
Shout out Miles.
Yes. Michelle, did you feel like you nailed it when you sent in your tape?
It was a protracted process. I think the total from my first tape to the last tape, it was like April, June, July, August, September. It was 5 months.
Whoa.
And a couple different tapes. And again, by the end of it, I was like, if that's not the tape, then they don't want me. So I had red hair. I was in the basement of my childhood home, like just threw it out there at like 4 a.m. It was a quick turnaround. And then clearly that was the one that took it over the edge, I guess. It's always the one that you're like, that was... But maybe it's because you're not scrutinizing everything and feeling precious about it that they respond to it. But and then I got the call on Labor Day, and my manager and agent called me, and I was like, why are they calling me on a public holiday? And then they picked up and they're like, do you know what it is about? And I was like, I have no idea, because it had been such a long time. And they said, why would we be calling on an American public holiday? Ooh. And I was like, why? It's a British production. And it was like a whole thing. But it was surreal. I cried, obviously. It was a big deal for me.
Right.
And I'm really excited for it to come out.
Yeah. Yeah, it is still, anytime you get cast, I imagine, that feeling, that recognition that someone has seen you and believes you can do this. Gideon, you were talking earlier about range of roles, taking on a variety of things. You also do a lot of VO work.
Yeah.
How does that play into your picture? How does that influence your screen work? Do you ever see the two impacting each other in any way?
I don't think I see the two impacting each other, but I love doing VO work.
Yeah.
I'm very proud of my VO work. Actually, I have a project coming out in April
Ooh,
called
tell us.
Maul Shadow Lord.
Oh,
It's,
yeah.
Star Wars. It's a Star Wars show.
Yeah.
And I'm finally allowed to talk about it.
Yeah.
And there are some and there are some other irons in the fire that I can't talk about that I'm also very excited for. But no, I don't. I just VO is hard because they don't see your face, so it's all in your voice, obviously, and it's a lot of, you get hot and sweaty in there. Maybe you'll pass out. Maybe you want to throw up. It depends, but I love it.
How different is your prep process, or similar, when you're doing a VO project versus a screen project?
I read the scripts and I think about what I want to do, but nowadays, since COVID with VO, most of the time you're in a booth alone, and you don't really have other actors to feed off of. So yeah, it's a totally different prep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is that in part you want to be a little more spontaneous in the room by yourself?
Well, I mean, usually they're like, do it 3 times, and then you do it 3 times, and you move on, and if you don't feel good about it, you can tell them and do it again. You get a lot of chances, but
That's nice.
yeah, I don't know. It just feels different to do something alone and to not have a person with you. And even if you do have someone else in the booth with you doing VO, you're not like looking at them, and actually, you can't move, and yeah.
Yeah. Will, building off that idea of getting that energy from co-stars, finding the work on your feet with another person, are there any actors in any of your projects in the past that you think that come to mind for you, that where you were in a scene with them and you felt yourselves feeding that energy off of each other?
I mean, yeah, I feel like I've been very lucky to interact with a lot of actors that I admire. Some that are my age, some that are older. I did a film that Maud Apatow directed called Poetic License, which has yet to come out. And I really like acting with. I mean, everyone in that movie is great, but Andrew Barth Feldman and Cooper Hoffman. We had a lot of fun making that movie together, just laughing and improvising, and Maud would run back in and give alts, and we were playing around. And I think anytime you have the opportunity to act with people that are kind of your age, it's always super fun, especially when you're on the younger side, because then you're kind of in it together. But also, the opposite of that would be, I'm really impressed by the way that, someone like Julia Roberts or Andrew Garfield are on a set, and just the focus and the way they're able to elevate everyone around them. My first day on After the Hunt, I was very nervous, and to Julia's credit, she was very kind.
That's really good to hear when number one on the call sheet is welcoming you in. Yeah. Michelle, anyone coming to mind for you that you've worked with that felt like that scene was elevated because of the teamwork of that other partner?
Yeah, I think I have to bring it back to Z. It's because we didn't have as much awareness, or we weren't as privy to the overall narrative or how it would present, or even what shot was being shot, because it was also spontaneous in the moment. I think we really had to rely on each other, and make every scene just about the moment. And again, Jin Ha and Haley Lou Richardson, who obviously are incredible actors from their previous work, brought all of that into this project. And I remember Haley Lou was like, I feel like you're John Cho, because she felt like she was John Cho to me in this movie that John Cho was to her in Columbus. In the sense that not only was I was learning so much from her as we were acting, but also outside of it as friends and getting to know each other. And so, yeah, I would have to say it's the two of them.
Yeah, the dynamic between the three of you is really something. Okay, in the spirit of independent filmmaking and the team that it takes to make a film, Will, I'll start with you here. Is there an unsung hero on the set, a position on the set and the crew that you feel like ought to get a little more attention that you appreciate?
I mean, any PA.
Yeah.
Just like getting you breakfast or making sure your hands are warm. We shot in New York in the spring, and it was colder than expected, and it was rainy. I just think anyone that's like looking out for you and keeping you warm when they're really cold, I just find that to be a very thankless. I mean, hopefully they're thanked, but I find all the PAs that I've worked with are really, especially in New York, like it's a lot of people that have become friends, and so shout out PAs.
Yeah, shout out PAs. Gideon, how about you?
It takes a village.
Yeah.
I don't think there's one person to thank over the other. It's every single person on a set.
Yeah.
I'm thankful for. I wouldn't be able to do the work that I do if it wasn't for every single crew member and everyone behind the camera and the producers and my fellow actors and our background actors, everybody.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. I can't choose one person over the other. It's everybody.
Yeah, that's totally fair. At the helm of your project, Worried, was Nicole Holofcener, who is kind of an independent film legend.
Yeah.
What did you observe that she did on set that you admired? What were some things that she did that you were drawn to?
She is so relaxed and so confident in her work that it just made personally my experience very relaxed and very comfortable. I felt so grounded in my role in Jules. Most, for all the women, but really like Nicole as a director, she's like, yeah, I like that, do that. She was just so confident in what she knew she wanted and what she could get out of us. She's a no BS woman, and I really love that. I would do everything with her.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Michelle, returning to that sense that Gideon is saying of wanting to work with people again, you mentioned it with Kristen Stewart, returning to work with the same auteurs. You're back with Kogonada here. You were in A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. What is it about your artistry together that you think just syncs up?
I think that because our first conversation was just a complete nerd out about movies, I think our shared obsession over film and cinema and just the medium that we've dedicated our lives to is something that bonded us immediately. And then having worked with him, I feel a lot of trust and safety in him as a director. And I've said this in another interview, but I feel like chemistry is based on a base level of safety and feeling safe with a person so that you are happy to play and try new things and fly to Hong Kong funding yourself to make something, maybe come out with nothing. And so I think that's really the core of like my relationship with him is this trust. And he put so much on me by inviting me to be a part of this project in such an important capacity. And so I feel like I had no choice but to become the person that he believed I was. And I would come back always to work with him.
Wow, that's powerfully put, that he is putting you on that pedestal and you are accepting it and seeing yourself in that role. And it does come through in Z, absolutely. Will, you are returning to work with Luca Guadagnino again.
Yeah.
A project, Artificial, maybe
Yes.
working title.
No, I think it's the title.
Okay. Good. What is it with your connection with Luca? Was there something on the set of After the Hunt that you made that connection?
He's been a very special person in my life. I think that when you're a young actor and you have, I think belief is really important, and to have someone of his caliber and talent and just ability really see you and recognize that what you're doing, even in a small part in After the Hunt, is like valuable to the entire movie. I think we just hit it off, and he's a friend, and we stay in touch. And I think on Artificial, it was cool just to play in a different world. You know, After the Hunt is the world of like Yale academia, and it's the subject matter is far-reaching, and Artificial is like similar in its own way. And I think it was just amazing to spend a summer with a really interesting group of actors talking about a topic that obviously is on a lot of people's minds. And Luca creates a really fun set. He's so light, and he's having fun. He loves movies, and you know he's masterful at it. So I want to work with Luca forever. Yeah.
Yeah, you're getting at an interesting thing there that I think everyone who works in film knows, which is it is hard, it is a job, but if we're not having fun, it's probably not going to work.
Yeah.
How do you put yourself in that mindset?
I mean, you know, I love movies. I think that you're doing something that at least I've always wanted to do, and I really care about it. And I think that when you work with people that really care, it's really vulnerable to care. And I think you have fun doing that. You know, I've left days frustrated that I maybe didn't get a result that I was hoping for, but even that's sort of a losing battle because it's not a results-based job. But no, I always have a lot of fun. If you're not having fun, I'd suggest maybe you do something else.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Gideon, how about for you? How do you remind yourself to have fun when it is feeling hard?
Well, there's no instant gratification. You know, you don't know if people are gonna like what you're doing, so you're really doing it for yourself. You're making something for you and with these people that you form. Like, it's crazy. You do a TV show for a few months or a film for a few months. You make a family, you make a bond, and then you all go away from each other. And it really is, acting is, in a way, it's selfless, and it can be stressful, and it's okay to have a bad day. It's okay to be angry at yourself, because everybody has a bad day at work, and this is just what we do. And it doesn't mean that, you know, I hate it or I don't recognize that I'm lucky, but, you know, we're all human. But yeah, just really, you know, filming a project and recognizing everyone is there doing this with you together, and no one else in the world knows what it's gonna be. But you guys know it's like your little gem to hold before you release it into the world. And I love that when I'm filming a project, that it's our little thing until it's not.
Ooh, that's a special feeling. How about you, Michelle? How are you staying in the right mindset when it gets hard?
I was just nodding away because I completely agree with both of them. I think there's so much pressure in our profession as people who work creatively to always feel this sense of gratitude and happiness. And if you're for a second not feeling that, you automatically go to like, is this meant for me? Am I meant to be doing this? Or am I ungrateful? And it's like, you never catch an accountant being like, I'm upset today at work, maybe I should quit and do something else, you know? And so I think allowing yourself to, on the one hand, view it as your profession is a freeing thing, because then you're not so emotionally invested in every outcome and everything. But then on the other hand, also understand that your passion is what brought you here and your joy is what brought you here. And so you always want to be making choices that bring you back to that feeling.
Yeah. Well, I think that's a really great place for us to wrap up. Let's hear it for our stars to watch. Gideon Adlon, Will Price, Michelle Mao. Thank you all for coming. Thank you again to Acura, and enjoy the festival, everybody. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.